escape portion of it, like I said. So why did we do the drill the way we did it? Well, going around the mat the entire direction one way gives us the opportunity static to focus on adding the second part of the move, okay? So remember, now when we add a partner into the movement, don't just do your elevate and your hip escape, okay, and then think, I'm just gonna raise my knee up, and then it's okay. That thrust from recoiling the leg and hitting your reset is going to be very important here, okay? So when I go elevate, there's my escape. I'm going to recoil the leg, okay, for a number of reasons. When I recoil this foot, it allows me to drive that knee forward and keep pressure on my back leg so I can continue to chase in the event he decides he wants to go around this direction. Okay? There's nothing more disheartening than creating the space and then you lift your knee up, okay, and you don't have anything here to keep yourself posted, and he just flattens you right back out. So the reason we're talking about everybody not adding that second part of the movement when they do the hip escape as a warm-up, well, this is why. So totally absent on my second half, I lift, I scoot out, and then I'm just gonna push the knee, I'm gonna lift my knee up a little bit, and then he kills my hips, and because I don't have any drive, as he flattens me back out, he just killed the escape. Or worse yet, he goes around the head. Okay, so back here at the first, when I hit my escape, if I just lift my knee up and he decides, well, I'm just gonna shift and go around the head. Now, I'm stuck. So what I want to do is, I want to coil this reset back up, okay? So bridge, scoop, reset coils back up, knee's going to lift to fill the void. Now I'm going to drive in hard so that if he tries to jump up and move, as he moves, I can hit the reset and run with it. Butterfly guard, same reset. So when you hear me talk about hitting the reset, okay? Down, up, turn, recoil the foot wherever you're comfortable. I prefer to have my heel way up here by my butt so that as I drive the knee and he decides to move whichever way, I can continue to go with him, okay? So the lower part is the most important part. Now, the hands. What do we do with the hands? Right forearm checks the hip. Left hand is up underneath the chin, levering down on the shoulder and up against the up under the chin. So I bridge, scoot, coil, drive. Now from here, depending on which way he goes, I can just kind of play off of him. My knee is inside. My knee is to my elbow. I've got a loaded reset right here behind me that I can drive off of. Okay? Worst comes to worst, I can thread the needle back through and I can turtle up off of the space that I make, but that'll be a little bit later. So from right here, if he decides to just play super heavy and try to bowl me back down, what's stopping?
The reset.
The reset is killing me. If I just let it stay like this, he just pushes me flat back to my back. So we're gonna do about 10 of these a piece. Okay, we're gonna start with our partner. Palm in the hip, or forearm in the hip, hand under the chin. Elevate, out, coil, bring the knee, thrust back in, and you can continue to move if you want to figure out how to get out. I would say continue to push back into them until you off balance them and then reset so that you know you've got a good solid drive. Now remember, we're focusing on the back 50% of the movement that we don't ever teach. Right? So it's here, up, out, coil, thrust and drive. He elevated. Now we're up underneath. Whoops. Okay. Let's give it a go. Give it a go. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Learning the fundamentals. Thrust that knee through for the side control escape. Bridge, hip out. Now drive this knee back my way. Okay. Don't lift, thrust the knee through like you're throwing a knee. Hip, now bring that knee through, drive it, good. Got to thrust the knee back inside. Now, big drive with that knee. Now, recoil your left leg. Good. Now, let's try something on the next one. Go the same one. Recoil your foot to your butt and let's see what happens. Bridge, turn. Now, right here, recoil your left leg high. Now, drive the knee as far over as you can. Boom. Yeah, good. Good heavy drive that knee in. Now, recoil your right leg. Now, thrust the knee forward. Good. See how much space you're creating and how much distance you're going? Good. Thrust the knee. We are missing 50% of a side control escape by simply doing a hip escape down the mat as a warm-up. This is the part we miss. Driving the knee. Ultra important. Drive that knee. Great. So if we're talking about how much room we have for error, we see a lot of mistakes on the degree of the tilt on the knee. So what I mean here is I get back here and I've driven that knee, and I see a lot of times guys will put this knee on the ground and they'll drive it this way instead of driving up. Now when we did the drill, we'll kind of have our knee down because there's nothing to push off of. Nothing to base off of to give my knee that 45-degree drive up. So here, look at how this sets up. So here, bridge out. Notice the degree, the angle of the slope of his knee right here. I need to try to match that. Because if I try to come, I turn down, I try to come in this way to meet my elbow, he can either block it with his knee or his hand. Either way, he's got a good block. High degree of probability he's going to block that. If I get bridge, turn, and I use my elbow to feed the knee, you're going to hear that term several times. I'm going to match the slope of his leg to go up and meet my elbow. Here. Okay, because now I at least got some bite on the hip. And if he decides, no, I'm not going to let that happen, whatever he does, the reset can take care of the rest. No matter his adjustment here, he gave me what? Space. He gave me space. Okay? The whole goal here is to create that space necessary to get my feet back inside or get my knees inside to do some work. So when you do this, don't allow the knee to contour the ground. This is not going to be effective. Okay? We got to drive it up at an angle to match his knee. Now the next question becomes, what if he drops his knee way out? Like he just flattens that backside knee down. This hip goes flat. Okay? Kind of like a half quesa. We're going to use the elbow to feed the knee. Same movement. We're not going to change anything. We just have to come down a little bit underneath. Bridge, out. Now watch. Camera, come on this side. Everybody come on this side. I did something kind of interesting here.
You guys see it better from that
angle. I did kind of a double clutch. I take his hip. I use my elbow to catch the backside hip. Use the elbow to feed the knee. Now this is probably one of my favorite ways to get out of this hip switcher. You get a lot of guys that'll switch hips. Left, right. And you got to kind of wait and you got to catch them because there's two different ways to catch the hip. My elbow serves as the way to catch both on either side. So once I get the elbow into this side of the hip, that hip cannot drop now. If he wants to twist his hips the other way, he runs into what? I'm gonna mirror with it and I'm gonna bring my knee up to prevent the hip switch. The knee helps to buckle that out, and now I feed the knee to the knee to the elbow, and look what I've got. I've got the space. I'm constantly going to be mindful of how I can use the elbow like a scoop to feed the knee to it, to meet the elbow to the knee. So he flattens this side out and rotates his hips this way to get rid of this high side hip pressure. That's fine. I'm going to take my elbow here as I turn to my side, and I'm going to replace it, a double clutch actually, kind of on the back side of the hip. So I'm here, I bridge, scoot out, and then I dig it up underneath this far side hip, and I meet and I feed. Okay? So that little hip switch, now I have to go from elbow and high side, dig it up under the far side, feed it to the knee. So now what your partner is going to do here, they're going to do a standard sort of hip switch to try and alleviate the pressure or the wedge out of their hip. We see this a lot. If you have too little of your elbow into the hip, you got problems. Okay, you have too much of it in there, you got more problems because he kind of caves down on it. It's about halfway. Elbow blocks, bridge, I'm out. Now he hip switches. When he hip switches, I'm gonna scoot and dig that bottom side hip under that knee. Now I'm gonna lift and drive up underneath. If I need more, recruit the second foot to start pushing off the heel. Now I've got the angle I need to go ahead and open back up, get back inside. Close. Next part, actually we're done, okay? If you wanna use your foot to create more off of this, once the knee goes inside, bridge, turn, knees in. Now I can use the foot to kind of help create more space to work back inside. Let's get it done. 1, 2, 3.